It's member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, All Things Considered, HPR1. I'm Dave Lawrence. Today we get a speedy return visit from one of our more lively guests of the year. He was in town in Waikiki, you may recall, at the Blue Note, Hawaii. Now he's bringing his band Hiroshima to places like September 9th at KCC on the Garden Isle, September 10th, Honoka'a People's Theater, wrapping things up September 11th at the Palace in Hilo. It's Dan Kuramoto, band leader, joining us now back on All Things Considered. Dan, aloha, mahalo, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. It's a great pleasure.
A return visit?
Yeah, for us, as we talked in Honolulu, Hawaii is always going to be our spiritual center. Not just because some of the band is from Hawaii, but Hawaii is the only part of America, to me, that really gets the spiritual nature of the planet. The Native Americans have tried to preserve it on the mainland, but they've been so persecuted that it's very, very difficult for them. And I think for us, it always reawakens our perspective of why we do what we do, who we are, who we happen to be, in some cases, hopefully, what we can become. In this scenario, we're looking to not play for a while. We've made a decision to next year go on hiatus for the year, maybe a little longer. We're not sure yet. It just seemed like after 40 years of touring, June brought up, maybe we should take a step back, sort of reevaluate. We're so blessed that we could continue to tour. And then we're contemplating the Ma. In Asian philosophy, the Ma is the space. It's where nothing happens. It's in between things, in between when you inhale and exhale. Is the Ma, right? So we should really explore that for ourselves for at least a little while. And we thought, well, the opportunity to come back and play the Outer Islands would at least let us go full circle with our own souls. We haven't played in Kauai maybe 6-7 years or so. Okay. And the last time we were able to play at the community theater, it sold out so fast, we did a free concert at the mall. And that was really cool. Some of the guys from Kalapana showed up and surprised us and stuff. And it's all about Ohana, right? And music is Ohana. Been just gathering quotes of some of my spiritual mentors, quotes by James Moody and Miles Davis and cats like that, Herbie and stuff, things that they told to me sometimes in very private conversation. It's sort of like going back to the Ma. Dizzy Gillespie's interpretation of jazz is, he says, jazz is what you don't play. And as we go into the exploration of our own personal Hiroshima Ma, the opportunity to go back and play the Outer Islands is great. Getting to go to Kauai and then to go to the Big Island where we've played many times, but we haven't played Hilo in, I want to say, at least 8 years. So this and Yoshi's Jazz Club and an East Coast run is pretty much the end of our performances for some time to come. We're trying to get June to do another solo album. Kimo's got a project he's been working on. I'm contemplating starting another project, but that in toto is our thought.
You have very strong connections here. Kimo's from Kalihi, right?
Yes. And we're bringing back the singer who has sung with us both on our 2010 Grammy-nominated Legacy and then on our current Songs with Words, Yvette Ni'i, and she's from the Eva side.
Who was there performing at the shows in Honolulu. You mentioned Miles, and it's someone that you're so strongly associated. When you did that historic tour in 1990, how many dates approximately did you guys do together?
Not many. A little more than a half a dozen. It was a JVC tour, so we were doing that, and we were doing other JVC dates. So we would meet up with Miles, and then we would separate and come back, and separate and come back. But it was Miles' last significant tour before he passed. So it was very impactful for us, first of all, just to hang with Miles, but to connect with his whole approach to music, which for us, we've really tried to emulate to the extent that Miles just believed that, one does not stay in the same place, as we talked about, Dave, at the Blue Note. The band as a whole has collectively sought to bring and make part and represent Asian Pacific culture in this country in our own small way. Because as kids, we didn't have much representation in the media. We felt like we didn't get respect.
A lot of the representation is a huge value, I'm sure, to other people who feel the same, that different kinds of Asian culture are not represented in pop music in the United States. You do it in a very unique way. It's a fusion of many elements, some of the things that you've grown up with, some of the things, as you said, you aspire to do. One of the ways, though, that you brought your music into the mainstream, and I've been curious how it ended up happening, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, the moon is a window to heaven. How did that all happen, Dan?
Well, They actually contacted us, and I think it sort of stemmed from the fact that the Star Trek movie previous to that, which I think Leonard Nimoy directed, the Jackets, the Yellow Jackets, did a song on it, and that movie did very well. So they thought it is Star Trek, so maybe having some kind of contemporary jazz might be kind of cool. So they reached out to us, and it was very interesting because Shatner directed ours. And he had never directed a movie before. So it was really a blessing for us. Kimo and I got to work with Jerry Goldsmith, who's one of my all-time film composer heroes. He taught us a lot about the mechanics of dealing with huge movie studios. Because I've done a lot of TV and a lot of movies, but, I mean, it's all semi-hateful work. You know, like, I'm just being honest here because there's so much BS and stuff like that. But this was on a whole nother layer of BS, and Jerry handled the politics so beautifully. And I came away from it having even more respect for Jerry, who was one of the first film composers who really was able to bring electronic music into film scoring in a really artful, soulful way. Also, the guy's got the thickest skin in the world because he could deal with the studio executives and some of the bizarre things that they would bring up. It taught me right then and there that I will never do this. Never do this. But, I mean, it was great. And I'm trying to think of the lyricist. A Moon is a Window to Heaven was sung by the African-American woman in the early Star Trek cast. She lip-synced the song. And the composer of the lyrics, who was a multiple Oscar and Grammy-nominated lyricist, whose name escapes me at the moment, I'm sorry. So he just handed me a page of lyrics, and they said, well, write a song. Uhuru. I think that's the name of the character, and it had to sort of suit Uhuru. So I wrote the music and the melody for that song, and then we wrote some other cues. Again, it was an incredible learning experience, and Bill Shatner, he's a funny guy, didn't seem to ever to be mean-spirited, and did not have a lot of chops to direct. Let me just leave it at that. And pleasant man, and was an interesting experience.
Nichelle Nichols, is that the name of the...
That's the actress, yes. And she played a character called Uhuru.
Right.
Yeah. And she was very nice. Yeah, and unfortunately, that was the least successful of all the Star Trek movies, and I'm sure they probably thought we contributed to that lack of success. But I think, given the film industry as we know it, it can botch a lot of things. In this case, I think there are contributing factors, and I'd like to think that Hiroshima and Jerry Goldsmith didn't really add to the problem, but we did our best to salvage what we could.
I doubt you added anything bad to it, and you're going to be bringing a whole lot to the islands on this tour. They're going to be at KCC September 9th before they head to the Big Island, September 10th, Honoka'a People's Theater, September 11th, the Palace in Hilo, bringing Kimo from Kalihi to augment that local feeling that you guys have.
And
Yvette from the Eva sides. So you're really representing, even though you're not coming back to Oahu, you're really representing, taking Oahu to the rest of the state and the world, so to speak. It's Dan Kuramoto from Hiroshima, and great catching up with you, brother.
Dave, you're a great cat. I hope people continue to listen and your show expands, because of all things considered that I've heard across this country, your approach to this is as cool as it gets. And Hawaii is very lucky that you're doing what you do. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. Just one last bit,
Sure.
The show that we're going to do is a little bit retrospective because there will be some time before we do more shows. So even we're not sure what we're going to quite get into. We're discussing that now. But hopefully people will come and share these moments with us. Would ask one other thing. If you could slug it in for us, if you could mention our website, HiroshimaMusic.com, so that if people want to stay with us during this hiatus, so if June gets a new album out, people might want to know about that. We're expanding the recipes fivefold because a lot of people are into the recipes on our website.
HiroshimaMusic.com, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope to catch up sometime and share a beer and hang out.
Me too. Be safe. Big hug, Dan. Feel it. Thank you for the kind words.
I'm being very, very honest. As I told you, I feel a pure spirit from where you're coming from, and I think that's a really blessing for public radio in Hawaii. And that growth, I hope, becomes infectious to some of the other stations.
Aloha, brother.
Dave, thank you so much. Aloha. It's Dan Kuramoto from the band Hiroshima. You're tuned to my good friend and buddy, Dave Lawrence, on All Things Considered.